Okay, here's our second part on how to write as a group. And in this part of the video, we're going to talk about the actual writing process for writing a group paper or report. Now, I promised you that I would give you one weird tip, just like those internet advertisements that say, one weird tip to lose 10 pounds this week. And here's the weird tip. The truth of the matter is there is no group written project. At the end of the day, only one person's fingers can touch the keyboard. Now, you've probably seen this. You walk through a student lounge and you see 6 people huddled over one laptop. I'll tell you, they're going to waste 6 hours coming up with a really terrible report. It's just not going to happen. Somebody types a sentence, someone else leans in and says, oh, I wouldn't use that word here, I'd use another word. Then somebody else leans in and says, I'm not really sure that this is where we should be starting at all. You waste hours and hours of time like that and come up with a report that's horrible anyway. Remember this, at the end of the day, only one person's hands can actually touch the keyboard. So you're going to direct everything to having one person at least do the first draft. Let me show you how. In the second part of our video on writing as a group, we're going to talk about developing the strategy and an outline. We like to say that in the second group meeting, you should go to the mat. What does this mean? Well, here you see wrestlers going to the mat. One of them's going to win. One of them will walk off the wrestling mat defeated. In the second meeting, you need to work with your team members to refine the strategy. As you know, there are no right answers in business cases. You need to debate the possibilities and choose one that makes sense. What is important when you write your report is coming up with coherent implementation. That is, some implementation that matches with the strategy that you have chosen. There will, of course, be times where you get outvoted amongst your team members. You know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. There really is no right answer to business cases. If there was a single right answer, we'd just publish it as a chapter. We would not make it as a business case where you have to use your own analysis and make your own choices. So once the team has made their choice, make sure that you get on board so that you can do your best effort. Don't be a spoiler. As you're talking, write ideas up and get all of the ideas on there. And by the way, cell phone photographs are a really good way to capture information that's written up in a group study room so as you have information later and you don't lose it. As you're writing things up, draw arrows that show which concepts relate one to another. The truth of the matter is, only one person can write them. When you're sitting at a computer keyboard, only one person's fingers can actually touch the keyboard. So you can actually save yourself a lot of agony by getting this far in your planning of your brief and then make an outline. You can do this with everybody together hunched over one laptop. Let me show you how to do it. If you think you don't know anything about outlining, don't worry. Just go to Microsoft Word, open up a blank document, type the number 1 followed by a period and a space, and Microsoft automatically thinks that you're doing something that looks like an outline. You begin by entering your main idea. Then when you hit return, Microsoft Word gives you the number 2. Now if we tab over, it will give you lowercase letter a. And now every time I hit return and type in something, Microsoft will stay at the ABC level. Now, if I want to move to my second most important idea, I just use the back tab, which is Shift and Tab. and it goes back to number 2, and I can enter my second idea. Well, here I've got an outline written out with main ideas and some detail, and here I've got an example and implementation, and I've got some detail. Notice it goes 3, lowercase a, Roman numeral I or 1, and then 1, 2, 3, so it does different numbering schemes. One of the great joys of the Microsoft Outliner is that if you change your mind, you can move stuff around by cutting and pasting, just as you would do in Microsoft Word. Let's say we decide this example is so good, it belongs right up, right underneath the main idea. We go Control X, we cut it, and then Control V to paste it, and it enters it formatted as before, and then it knocks everything else down. It changes the numbering for everything else that follows. So we can move stuff around, we can delete stuff and add stuff. Let's just take this out here and I'll show you. This something is going to come up to, now it's number B. And just remember to save your work and share it with your other team members before you move on to the next step. At the outline stage, you get all of your ideas typed in. As I've shown you, you can expand things, you can cut and paste and move things around. Then we need to review the outline and get it organized so that it makes sense. It's probably best to review the outline on your own. Go away someplace quietly and take a look at it either printed out or on your own laptop. Look for the logic flow. Are there any logic jumps? Is there anything that needs some detail, some explanation, or a few more examples? And then on the other side, use some critical thinking. Is there too much detail in one section? Is it making the whole presentation lopsided? Maybe there are some examples that are better than others, so cut the weak ones out and edit the outline. Now we're going to have to decide who actually does what. And there are a number of different ways to do this. You've got a choice. The first thing you could do is to take volunteers. Okay, who wants to write this one? Who wants to be editor? If you're assigned to the same group throughout a semester, you may decide to take turns. It gives everybody experience with the different roles, and it has the advantage of fairness. Where you have a term project and all of you are committed to getting a good grade, I think pretty much everybody agrees on this. If you want the grade, you do as we say, you put your best batter in the box. That means that the person who's best at writing does the writing, the person who's best at doing Excel does the Excel charts. At this point, we're going to cut up the work into different jobs. Now, as to how many different jobs there are will depend in part on how big your team is and also how big the project is. If you have a lot of different projects assigned to your group, all due across different classes in 1 week, then different people may take the job of being the lead writer for different projects. On the other hand, if it's a huge term project and the group is large, you may assign different people to write different sections. Just be careful though that when you have different people write different sections, when it comes together, it's going to end up looking like Frankenstein's monster, all stitched together. Let's just take a look at some of the other jobs that you may assign here. In addition to the writer or writers, you'll have some people working on the exhibits, perhaps a different person working on Excel spreadsheets for financials, and in the humanities, you might want to have somebody working on complicated citations. That could be one person's entire job, getting the reference list nicely organized. Looking ahead to editing, we're going to assign one person to be the content editor, another person to be the copy editor, and don't leave this meeting without being clear as to who will upload the finished paper or submit it in class and when exactly that will be.